Hello and welcome to this tutorial, and in this tutorial we'll be learning about the bound services. So in the previous tutorial we have already learned about a service, and we have already learned two methods for creating a service. One was by the intent service and the next one was by using the service class. Now those service which we have created were the unbound service, and unbound service means that they were unassociated with the application or with the activity. So the thing was that those services which we have created, they were not actually connected to the interface right here. But in this case, in case of bound services, we are going to create a service which is going to get associated with the application. So each of the two services are going to have different fields of application. Now let's say if you want a service to get immediately destroyed when you exit out of application, then you want the bounded services, and that is because the bounded services is basically going to get connected with the activity or the application, and whenever the application exits, the bounded service is going to get destroyed. But in the case of the services which we have created earlier, it had no relation with the application. So basically it was actually related to application, but it is going to continue running even if we exit out of the application. So in this tutorial we are going to learn about bound services, and this and the next tutorial is going to be the last set of tutorials for services, and then we are going to proceed to the new tutorials. And the thing is that services are the most important part of creating an Android application. So whenever you wanted to create a complex application, you will be needing them. So make sure that you have a good understanding of what services are. So let's go ahead and create a simple application for the bound services. So what I have done is that I've created a new application which is called as bound ser, which is called as bound ser, and we are going to create the bound service in this application. So once you have the basic layout with you, you simply go to the text view and delete this thing right here. That is because we won't be needing it. Now switch to the design view, and the first thing which we need to do is that we need to add a text to it, and we need to add a button to it. So we drag this large text right in the center, and we also drag a button to the center. So take a button and drag it right over here. So basically what we are trying to do is that when we click a button, some service gets executed in the background which is going to set the text of this large button, or which is going to set the text of this large text to, let's say, the current time. So once you have this large text as well as the button with you, we simply go and give these things an ID. So we simply select the large text, go into ID, and let's name it as my text. And also we'll do the same with the button. So we simply select button, go to ID and give it an ID of my button. So once we have these things in place, the next thing which we need to do is that we need to create a service. So to create a service is basically a Java class, so you need to place it in the Java folder. So go to the folder which contains the main activity, right click on the folder, go to new, select a service, and let's name it as, let's give it a default name which is my service. Hit finish, and it is going to load up a new class for us, which is basically nothing but a service. So now if you remember from the previous tutorial, we had this iBinder thing over here, and as we are not creating a bound service, we deleted the code inside it. But now in this case we are going to make use of this iBinder. So the first thing which we need to do is that we need to go ahead and create a binder. So we type private final iBinder, and let's name this iBinder as my binder equals new, let's say my local binder. And my local binder is going to be a method which we have not yet created, and this B should be in capitals, and that is because it is going to get imported from the android.os, and the proper spelling for it is I and B in capitals. So make sure that you have spelled it correctly. Now once we are done with this, we need to make this method right here, and that is because it is going to show us an error if we don't make it. So we simply go right here and we create the method. So we type public class, and let's name this thing as my local binder, the name which we have used here. So we type my local binder, and this extends the binder, so we type extends binder. So as soon as we create this class right here, the error is going to get removed. So once this is done, we go inside the my binder or the my local binder class and we create a service. So we type my service get service. So inside the get service, we are basically going to return the value which is the my service dot this. So we type return my service dot this. So basically, whenever you are creating a binder or whenever you are creating a bound service, the first thing which we'll need to do is that we'll need to connect it with the service. So in order to connect it, the first thing which we need to do is that we have created a class which is called as the my local binder, and inside the my local binder we have this service right here, and we have named the service as get service, and then finally we have used the return statement to return the my service. So this is a basic code, or this is the basic structure which we use to create a bound service. So now the next thing which we need to do is that we need to switch to this I binder, and this is basically a binder. So we simply delete everything in this and we simply return the my binder. So we type return my binder. So now once this is done, the next thing which we need to do is that we need to create a method which is going to be used in order to set this text to the current time. So we go inside this class, let's say we go in here, and then we type in the code which we want to use in order to calculate the current time. So we type public string get current time, and in order to calculate the current time, we create the object of the simple date format. So we type simple date format, and let's name it as df, and this is equal to new simple date format, and to this we pass in the parameters. So first is going to be the format in which we want to get the time. So we type HH, which is hours, minutes and seconds, then we give a comma, and then we specify the time zone. So let's say we type local dot US. Now the next thing which we need to do is that we simply need to return the time. So we type return, and the thing which we return is the date format. So we type df dot format, and then finally we return new date. So once this is done, we are pretty much done with the first part for creating our bound service, and I think this is going to show you an error. That is because this should be date, and also you need to import the date. So we simply import it by pressing Alt and enter, and we need to import it from either of the two classes. So we simply select this java.util.date, and once you have imported the date, your error will be gone. So we are done with the first part of our tutorial, and in the next part of our tutorial we will be continuing how we could create a bound service. So once everything is done, the next thing which we need to do is that we need to switch to this main activity.java, and we need to import this my local binder which we have created in this my service.java. So in order to import that, first we copy the package name, which is this com.example.application.boundser. So in your case the package name might be different, so make sure that you copy the package name, and inside the main activity.java you need to import the my local binder. So we go here and we type in import, then we have the package name which is this, then we give a dot operator, then we type my service, then we type in the method which we want to import, then we type my local binder. and once you have the my local binder imported, you could use this in your code. So now one more thing which you need to do is that you need to clean up your code. So we go ahead and delete this toolbar, and we also delete this extra comments so as to get a clear view of our code. So make sure that you delete it. And now the next thing which you need to do is that you need to create the object of the my service. So we go inside this main activity, we go right here, and then we create the object of my service. So we type my service, and let's name this as my service. And once we have this, the next thing which we need to do is that we need to create a variable which is called as isBound, and the isBound variable is going to be of the type boolean. So it is going to have two values. It is either going to be false or it is going to be true. So the isBound variable is used in order to keep track of whether the current client is bound to the service or not. So we type boolean isBound, and as initially the client is not going to be bounded by the service, so we make it as false. So once this is done, the next thing which we need to do is that we need to create a service connection. So in order to create a service connection, we go right below here and we exit out of each and every method, and we type in private service connection, and we name this connection as, let's say, my connection, and we type it equal to new service connection. So as soon as we type it, it is going to create two methods within it. So the first method is going to be the on service connected, and the next method is going to be the on service disconnected. Now once we have these two methods, make sure that you have a semicolon here. Now as you could see, we have imported the local binder over here, which is my local binder. So you need to create an object of the my local binder, and we are going to create the object whenever the service is connected. So in order to do that, we go inside this on service connected, and this is basically going to have the code which is going to get executed when the service is connected. So inside it we type my local binder, and let's say we name the binder as binder. So we type binder equals, and we typecast it to my local binder service. So once we have this binder with us, the next thing which we need to do is that we need to get the service from the binder and store it into the my service. So we type my service equals binder, which we have just created, and the get service is the method which is used to get the service. So we type get service, and the result is going to be stored in the my service. Now once the service is connected, as we have created a variable here which is called as the isBound. So when the service is connected, we need to make it true. So we go right here and then we type isBound equals true, and this is the method which is going to execute the code when the service is disconnected. So in here we type isBound equals false, so as to get an idea if the service is connected or not. So now once everything is done, the next thing which we do is that we go into this on create right here, and then we need to create an intent which we used to create in each and every service. So we type intent, name it as I equals new intent. To this we pass the first parameter as this, the next parameter as the class name, which is in this case my service. So we type my service dot class. Then instead of starting the intent or executing the intent, as this is going to be a bound service, so we type bind service, which is used to bind the service, and to this we need to pass the intent. Then we need to pass my connection, and then finally we type in context dot bind underscore auto underscore create. So this is the basic parameter which you need to pass in while you create a bound service. So now once this is done, we are pretty much done with setting up the bound service. So now once everything is done, the next thing which we need to do is that as we want to make this button perform some action, we simply go onto this button, and inside the on click of this button which you'll find under here, which we'll find under the properties. We will add a method to this. So the method which we are going to perform while the button gets clicked is going to be the show time method. So we type show time. So whenever the button is clicked, we want to make this text display the current time. So once you added the method to your button, the next thing which we need to do is that we need to go into this main activity.java file, and we need to define the function which we have declared here. So the on click over here has the method which is called as show time. So we create the method show time right over here. So in order to create the show time method, we type in public void show time, and to this we pass in view. Now inside this, as we want to display the current time, we go ahead and create a string which is used to store the current time. So we type string current time equals my service dot get current time. Now once we have the current time with us, the next thing which we do is that we get the reference of the text view. So we type text view my text equals, then we typecast it to text view, then we type find view by id, and then r.id. the id of our text, which is my text. Now once we have this reference to our text, the next thing which we need to do is that we need to set the text and change it to the current time. So we type the name of our text, which is my text, then we use the method dot set text. So we type dot set text and set the time equal to current time. So now once this is done, we are done with the code. So we simply save the code and execute it on the emulator. So as you could see, our application is up and running, and when we click this button right here, it is going to extract the time for us. So basically what is happening is that when we click the button right here, the method which we have created right now is going to get executed, and in that method, which is in the main activity, which is the show time method, it gets called, and inside this method we have a method which is going to invoke the my service. So when the my service is going to get executed, what is happening is that the application is getting connected with the service, and that was the main motive or the main intention behind this tutorial. So basically we were to create a bound service, and a bound service is a service which connects with your main activity. So basically when the service is connected, which is present right here, which is the get current time, which is calling the method which is called as the get current time, and this function right here is going to return us the value of time in this format right here. So if we click the button once again, it is going to show us the new time, and again the same thing is happening. When we click this button, a method is getting called, and that method is invoking the service, and the service is again going to calculate the time for us, and it is going to return the time to the main activity. So that's how you create a bound service in an Android application. So I hope you guys understood how we have created a bound service and what is the difference between a normal service and a bound service. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you.